It's 10 p.m. in Banjul and from our studios on the I Road. This is the news. But first, the headlines. President Jammeh relieves Mr. Burama Keba Sanyang of his cabinet appointment as Minister of Planning and Policy. Government's technical machinery comprising permanent secretaries and heads of departments meet to prepare the grounds for the forthcoming cabinet retreat. The 25th Chemical Battalion of the U.S. Army on the fortified demilitarized zone along the Korean border flexes its muscle amid heightening concern about North Korea's nuclear threats. And U.S. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump courts GOP evangelical voters in the state of New Hampshire, but Trump still trails his main challenger Ted Cruz in the polls in the key state of Iowa ahead of crucial votes. Well, viewers, these and other stories coming ahead this half hour. I am your presenter, TENENG GITTEH. Welcome back. The general public is hereby informed that His Excellency the President of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Ejeje Jammeh Babili Mansa, acting under the provisions of Section 71, subsection 4, paragraph B of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, has decided to relieve Mr. Burama Keba Sanyang of his appointment as Minister of Planning and Policy with effect from 19th January 2016. The 11th Permanent Secretaries and Heads of Departments retreat officially kicked off Tuesday morning in Kanilai, West Coast region. The forum brings together senior executives of government at technical levels to discuss and provide updates on issues related to the achievement of National Development Agenda. Our Samuel Ba attended the ceremony and reports that the forum also prepares the group for the all-important cabinet retreat later in February 2016.
Permanent secretaries, directors, and heads of government departments is expected to chart out tangible resolutions for the implementation of key national development objectives. The Permanent Secretary at the Personnel Management Office recognizes the progress associated with the platform since inception. According to P.S. Fadera, this year's sectoral reports would focus on strategic planning and management. The synergy, he said, creates an opportunity for participants to share best practices and deepen their knowledge on national development issues.
While we expect each and every sector to provide an updated sectoral scorecards focusing on key result areas, including constraints and way forward, I want to urge all of us to focus mainly on strategic planning and management. As you all know, the last cabinet retreat that was held here in Kanilai, that was the singular agenda throughout the program. And Heikki, the president, has repeatedly, we were all there, expressed concern about some of the sectoral presentations, citing such weaknesses as lack of relevant data or statistics, and also lack of proper costing and timelines for the strategic plans. And more importantly, the financing methodologies for the identified activities in our plans.
The Secretary to Cabinet, Nuha Toure, on behalf of the Secretary General and Head of Civil Service, urged all sector heads to work together in the interest of effective policy formulation, coordination, and implementation.
Policy coordination, alignment, and integration in government machinery is critical for the attainment of the country's socio-economic development goals. This is particularly important given the rising intricacies and complexities of transformative national development and the impact of globalization. Indeed, it goes without saying that the range and levels of expertise and skills required to address the country's development needs surpasses competencies of individual ministries, departments, and agencies.
The creation of a new Ministry of Planning and Policy has also been lauded as a launchpad for cohesive, sustainable national development.
I'm aware that the proceedings of this retreat will follow a familiar format of presentations by sectors followed by plenary discussions on emerging challenges covering wide-ranging issues of national importance. Essentially, I expect the retreat to provoke and stimulate high-level engagement and galvanize frank dialogue around cross-cutting national development issues. As such, I have no doubt that the outcome of the deliberations will put us in the right footing in addressing some of these cross-cutting issues.
It is the 11th Permanent Secretaries and Heads of Departments retreat, a platform to take stock of planning and internalize their responsibilities in driving national development goals. Samuel Ba, GRTS.
Officials of the Gambia Public Procurement Authority are the first to present their institution's activity report and financial statements before deputies in the 2016 legislative session. The joint session of the PAC-PEC committees kicked off sittings on Monday, and as Lehman reports, more institutions and public corporations are set to follow suit.
Of the Gambia Public Procurement Agency are expected back to the National Assembly at a later date to defend not only the credibility of the institution's 2014 activity report and financial statements, but as well the relevance of the exercise to the development aspirations of the citizenry. The two documents were Monday presented to the Assembly's Public Account Public Enterprise Committees for scrutiny. The goal of the legislative session is to bring accountability and transparency in the agency as custodian of public funds.
The functions of the authority, just to make a brief summary, is to assist in developing and enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of public procurement operations, assist in the conduct of procurement of goods, works, and services, provide expert advice relative to framework agreements under which procuring organizations may place orders for certain types of goods, works, and services, ensure standardized and unified procurement regulations are updated and published in the Gazette, development of a unified instructions and bidding documents which shall be binding on all procuring organizations, promote the development of a professional procurement workforce, collect data on procurement and monitor the performance of procuring organizations in their conduct of procurement proceedings to ascertain efficiency and compliance with the law and regulations.
The GPPA report and financial statements highlighted the institution's success stories, challenges, and the way forward during the year under review as staff of the agency endeavor to fulfill its mandate.
The 2014 financial year marked the second year of the implementation of the review of the GPPA strategic plan, which is from 2012 to 2017. Despite the challenges encountered during the period under review, the overall implementation of the strategic plan was considered satisfactory. The authority is therefore well positioned to consolidate its operation and improve on its effectiveness in regulating public procurement in a fair, transparent, competitive, and efficient manner, guided by the Act and its attendant regulations and instructions.
On the challenges, one is the inadequate capacity in public procurement knowledge within the procurement organizations. Another is the exorbitant money GPPA is paying for rent, since it is yet to have its personally owned edifice.
The assets, non-current assets, a total of 3,965,533 for the 2014 compared to the figure of 3,898,439 for the year 2013. Total current assets amounting to 4,905,813 compared to the 4,483,648 for the year 2013.
For a more progressive future, GPPA wants to be allocated a piece of land by government to enable staff vacate the current expensive rental facility. It is also GPPA's ambition to compile a procurement manual for the country system. Top echelons of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat also presented the institution's 2014 reports to the National Assembly and are now anticipating a return to the House for questioning on the documents. Established in 2008 under the Ministry of Justice, the Secretariat is mandated to provide services and facilities to those wishing to settle their disputes under the Act and to decentralize its services. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
A new hybrid maize crop recently introduced in Galemanda in the Central River region has received an endorsement from the farmers in that locality. The high-yielding maize variety was used as a pilot project during last year's rainy season. Over the weekend, volunteers descended on the farm to harvest the produce. We have more in this report by Ibrahim Balde.
The hybrid maize variety is the newest stock to be introduced in this locality. It was only in September 2015 that the maize variety was planted in this huge garden. The volunteers wasted no time in harvesting the produce, and those who spoke to GRTS expressed their unflinching support to President Jammeh's agricultural initiative. While some of them were busy harvesting, others ensured that the produce is neatly gathered for the machine to complete the work. It is a high-yielding variety. Based on the performance, Usman Koli, Divisional Agricultural Director, spoke about the history of the hybrid maize and how it was planted in Galemanda.
Everything is in place, so now when we did it by October, we continue to irrigate, and that is why this maize did very well.
Supervising and ensuring that the various farms belonging to the Gambian leader, His Excellency Sir Professor Alhaji Dr. AJJ Jammeh, are well maintained and harvested when they are due, Major Balde highlighted the significance and benefits of the hybrid maize.
You can see itself. These are hybrid variety, and then they are doing very, very, very good, and they have done very, very good. Because what we learn from here is, if we use the local corn, if we were to have on a hectare, for instance, I'm just give you an example, 10 kilos per hectare or per bed. For this variety, you can have 30 kilos per bed. So that's the difference, and then you will situate that it is very, very full, and then it is very mature, and it is also very resistant.
The National Food Self-Sufficiency Initiative is not only about rice. The goal is to ensure that food crops of various types are grown. Given the huge size of the garden and the quest for expansion, the women of Galemanda are determined to restock the garden with vegetable plants. Councillor Alhaji Nene Mbai commented on the hybrid maize before dilating on the importance of ensuring that the National Food Self-Sufficiency Initiative is actualized.
This variety is a very good variety, because before we used to have different varieties that the yield is quite different with this one. This one, if you cultivate a hectare, you are expecting nothing less than 30 something bags. So if we continue this trend, to me, I was even suggesting after the harvest we plow another distance. We do the plowing and cultivate another.
The people of Galemanda are happy that the hybrid maize piloted in their garden have bore fruits. Ibrahim Balde, GRTS News.
The Food and Agricultural Organization, in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture, has gathered stakeholders in various sectors to put in measures to address climate change issues as well as adapt agriculture to climate change. Kumaba was at the forum and she filed in this report.
Climate change on agriculture and livestock management, according to experts, is reportedly on the increase since the Gambia highly depends on agriculture. This is why the FAO and the Ministry of Agriculture are working together to mitigate the effect of climate change. This project is aimed at supporting the implementation of immediate adaptation priorities in the agricultural sector. The project is also meant to promote sustainable and diversified livelihoods for reducing the impact of climate viabilities and a change in agricultural livestock production.
The objective of this workshop is to engage all the stakeholders who are present to discuss and validate the project components and proposed activities that are outlined in the project document that we have so far. This workshop, therefore, has an important assignment to ensure that our expectations and contributions, key lessons and best practice models that are derived from past and ongoing initiatives are taken on board. So we want to learn from the past. We want to learn from what you know.
Speaking on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, the Deputy Minister Sirifo Bojang highlighted the threats of climate change and climate hazards that reduce the ability to grow crops as a result of low capacity to address and adapt the phenomenon.
The country is on the list of highly vulnerable countries exposed to climate-related natural hazards and expected to be most severely affected by the negative consequences of climate change. The Gambia, as a least developed country, is among the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change and variability.
Greater efforts are needed to combat the effect of climate change, and these require collaboration actions among government institutions, as the forum is said to be in the right direction to address climate change issues.
Livestock production, which earns income for both men and women, are also affected. Therefore, climate change is everybody's business. This impact could be in the form of biophysical, ecological, and of course economic. In their forms, they are usually shift in climate, and of course the different agricultural zones. We will also have the possibility of changes in production patterns due to the high temperatures, changes in the rainfall patterns, and of course there is the increase of vulnerability of people who don't have land, and of course the poor of the poor, just to name a few of some of these impacts.
This forum, which draws participants from various sectors and stakeholders, is expected to contribute to the development of safeguarding our environment, and also recognizes the achievement and lapses that need to be addressed to mitigate the effect of climate change. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Kumbaba.
Well, now, viewers, from that report by Kumbaba, we'll take our first break. We'll be right back with news from outside the Gambia. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. Earlier this month, North Korea claimed it has successfully tested a hydrogen bomb. Defense experts are skeptical about that, but as Pyongyang's nuclear ambition rises, the U.S. is not taking any chances. CNN's Paula Hancock gives us an exclusive look inside an American unit stationed near South Korea's border with the North.
North Korea marches closer to realizing its nuclear ambitions, its recent nuclear test worrying the world. Just across the DMZ in South Korea, US troops are on high alert. The 23rd Chemical Battalion is the first line of defense against chemical, biological or nuclear attack. Their mission today, to clear an underground facility used to store nuclear weapons. The scenario is staged, but the threat is very real. The beauty of being able to train underground for this battalion is it is far more realistic. North Korea's nuclear and chemical facilities are expected to be deep underground, so that they're out of sight of satellites and drones. This is the largest chemical battalion in the whole of the US military, based where the threat is greatest. The troops discover yellow cake or uranium, a substance North Korea is believed to possess.
We take into account the newest intelligence to tailor our training to ensure we're ready for anything that they could possibly have or use on the battlefield.
For this battalion to be on the ground in Korea is vital, ready to move at any moment and familiar with the territory.
Going into North Korea, it's fairly likely that the mountainous terrain will provide caves and underground facilities for them to be utilizing as weapons facilities.
The unit has modified strikers that can operate ahead of the front line to detect radiation or chemical agents. Field labs can be set up wherever needed, testing samples that create a chain of custody that can then be used as evidence in the International Criminal Court. The unit's motto is ready to fight tonight. The US military's answer to the unpredictable threat north of the border. Paula Hancock, CNN, South Korea.
Donald Trump is pumping up the push for the evangelical vote. The Republican frontrunner has a healthy lead in New Hampshire, where he campaigned on Monday. But the race against Ted Cruz is getting tighter in Iowa, with voting there 2 weeks away. Trump is looking to chip away at Cruz's support. Dana Bass reports.
We're going to have some fun, right?
Appearing at Virginia's Liberty University is a rite of passage for GOP presidential candidates, even Donald Trump, who drew a big crowd beyond students required to attend.
I want a general where we knock the hell out of them.
he stumbled a bit, quoting scripture.
Because I hear this is a major theme right here, but 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17, that's the whole ball game. Where the Spirit of the Lord, right? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty.
It's 2 Corinthians, not 2. A moment showing sharp contrast with Ted Cruz, who comfortably weaves Bible verses into speeches.
How can you know that I will follow through on those promises on the first day in office and every day afterwards? As the scripture has said, you shall know them by their fruits.
But so far, polls show evangelicals like Trump, despite him not talking the talk of a typical Republican trying to reach them.
It seems Donald has a lot of nervous energy.
Still, a big part of the Cruz-Trump escalating war is a personality and character contest.
He's a nasty guy. Nobody likes him. Nobody in Congress likes him. Nobody likes him anywhere once they get to know him. He's a very, he's got an edge that's not good.
Today, Cruz responded to being called nasty with a classically Cruz pop culture reference. But Cruz is no longer laughing Trump off. He is now following Jeb Bush's lead, questioning Trump's conservative credentials.
Ronald Reagan was a voice of consistency, and I'm pretty sure that Ronald Reagan didn't write checks and support Democratic politicians.
And a Cruz super PAC released this new TV ad trying to paint Trump as a hypocrite by playing Trump in his own words, praising Cruz.
But he really is a special guy.
As for Trump, his campaign clearly knows they have some image softening to do, going up on New Hampshire radio with a testimonial from his daughter, Ivanka.
When I was a young girl, my father, Donald Trump, always told me that I could do anything that I set my mind to if I coupled vision with determination and hard work.
Now, Trump didn't just call Cruz nasty. He also went after him in a Twitter tirade for taking money from Wall Street and much, much more. But that was all over the weekend. Come Monday, here in New Hampshire and earlier in Virginia, not one word about Cruz. Perhaps because Trump has been getting some blowback from conservative talk radio hosts who have a lot of influence with Republican voters, warning Trump not to go too far and alienating Cruz voters who may also be potential Trump voters. Dana Bash, CNN, Concord, New Hampshire.
Well, now with that, we'll take our second break. Sports is next. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. The drive to improve sports through grassroots initiative was given a massive boost with the presentation of an assortment of sports gear to various sporting associations through the Ministry of Youth and Sports and that of Basic and Secondary Education. The development comes courtesy of the Plymouth Banjul Challenge. Bauka Senghor has more.
Plymouth Banjul Challenge, in collaboration with Camp Africa Tuesday, presented 30 boxes of sportswear to schools and sports associations through Ministries of Youth and Sports and Basic and Secondary Education. The partnership between Camp Africa and Plymouth Banjul Challenge was built to support school sports and enhance the development of sports in the Gambia and Senegal.
We have facilitated a lot of structures that we have built. We have helped in the rehabilitation of some sports infrastructure within the Greater Banjul area. When we started, we decided that there were two things that we needed to look at which are not well funded in this country. We wanted to look at sports. We wanted to look at small enterprises in tourism, hence our collaboration with ASSET and GNOC.
This latest donation, including cricket gear, was made possible by GITTEH in the United Kingdom. George Gomez is the country representative of the UK-based charitable organization.
GITTEH was going on for 10 years, and they have never benefited the Gambia significantly. Tourists would go to them that are coming to the Gambia, and they will just collect 1 or 2 kits and they will give to teams. But not in any official way. And I had 2 meetings with them, and I was able to get them to agree that we need a representative here in the Gambia that would receive substantial amount of kids that would benefit our schools, our youths, our developing teams. And this was how I was asked to represent Kit 8 through Camp Africa.
Plymouth Banjul Challenge was formed in 2001, and since its inception, the organization has been leading efforts in facilitating infrastructural projects, especially in sports.
On behalf of my ministry and on behalf of my executive director of the National Sports Council, and indeed on behalf of the sporting fraternity of the Gambia, we are very much appreciative of the gesture, a gesture that I would call a laudable and immeasurable gesture, for the simple fact that it has come to encourage and develop sports in the Gambia. We are all aware that the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the National Sports Council together cannot do it alone.
The intervention, according to members of the School Sports Association, is timely, for it will help them develop talents in the grassroots.
We want to inform the donors that the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has decided to develop sports in the schools, and with our new education policy, which has sports in the policy, that is to develop grassroots, these materials will go a long way in helping those grassroots athletes that are in the country to show their talents. So I want to thank you all for this opportunity, and this has opened a gateway, a partnership between the 3 parties and the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. We want to assure you that you will continue to be our partners in sports development. So we want to thank you very much for these materials. As I said, the materials are timely, and we will make sure that they reach the needy beneficiaries that are in our school system.
For us, it's a floodgate open for cricket, because last year we embarked on a massive training program for the schools from Banjul to Birkama. And what we had about 2,500 kids introduced in the game. So we believe that the equipment given to us it come at a very good time, because currently we're implementing a 5-year development plan. As I can talk, this year we're talking about, you not believe it, we have 12 leagues for cricket this year.
The presentation of these materials is expected to further enhance the development of young people in the areas of education and recreational sports. For GRTS Sport, this is Babukar Senghor.
Well, from sports, we shift our attention to the weather outlook, courtesy at the Central Forecast Office.
Globe. In the Gambia, there is a company like the Baobab tree, 100% African and purely Gambian in all aspects. In know-how, design, value, capital, and management. That company is Elton. Elton, employing hundreds of Gambians and proudly associating itself with development in the Gambia. Elton, side by side with the Gambia.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the weather forecast. A sunny and warm atmosphere affected the country during the past 24 hours, and for the satellite image shows convective cloud over the southern part of Africa. Tonight, a cool atmospheric condition is expected to prevail, and this will continue till tomorrow morning, thereafter becoming sunny, warm, and slightly hazy in the afternoon. Surface winds will be northeasterlies over the coastal areas and northerly over the inland areas, and the speed will vary between 10 and 15 kilometers per hour. Minimum temperatures across the country will be 16 degrees over the Greater Banjul and Lower River region, 15 over West Coast and Upper River region, while 14 over North Bank and Central River region. And for the maximum temperatures will be 36 degrees over the Greater Banjul and West Coast, 37 over North Bank and Lower River, while 38 over Central and Upper River region. Low tide will be 0.5 meters at 12 a.m. and 0.3 meters at 1 p.m. High tide will be 1.5 meters at 7 a.m. and 1.6 meters at 8 p.m. Waves will be 1 to 2 meters northwesterly swells. The sun will rise at 7:34 in the morning and set at 1 minute to 7 in the evening. That was the forecast, and good night.
Well, now with that, we come to the end of this newscast. But before we take leave of you, a quick reminder of our day's main stories. President Jammeh has relieved Mr. Burama Keba Sanyang of his cabinet appointment as Minister of Planning and Policy. Government's technical machinery comprising permanent secretaries and heads of departments are meeting to prepare the grounds for the forthcoming cabinet retreat. The 25th Chemical Battalion of the U.S. Army on the fortified DMZ along the Korean border is flexing its muscle amid heightened concern about North Korea's nuclear threats. And the U.S. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump is courting GOP evangelical voters in the state of New Hampshire, but Trump still trails his main challenger, Ted Cruz, in the polls in the key state of Iowa ahead of crucial votes. Well, now that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the place of your company. Do stay with us, and I am your presenter, TENENG GITTEH.